hurricane, a tidal wave. Essence perfect, life looks brilliant. Give me more of this. I'm out of control, about to blow, and I've been caught in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You bury me, bury me. Yeah, you bury me, bury me. You've got me hypnotized. Push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy for the light. It's got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. Can get you out of my head again. Is it wrong? Is it right? It's like I've won my final war without a fight. I'm out of control, about to blow, and I've been caught in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You bury me, bury me. I know you bury me, bury me. You've got me hypnotized. Push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy for the light. It's got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. Get you out of my head. Get you out of my head. Hurricane.
Please note.
Never gonna stop, never gonna change, never gonna do the things you say. I run my own way to get there. Toss a coin and I don't seem to care. In the air, no more crowd, just the opposite kind of few clouds. So tell me the storm is coming, I'm sick of all your lies. Why don't you try to be wise? Now that I need you anyway. Just to feel like I'm fading. And though my heart breaks a beat of time, I press the lens just to tell you, don't lead the way, don't leave a stay. Then I try with a try to play in the rain. I feel like I'm fading.
We know we gon' sleep because the party don't stop. So put your hands on me and turn me on, turn me up. We know we gon' sleep because the party don't stop. So put your hands on me and turn me on, turn me up.
And boom, just like that, it's Thursday night. It's a new year, and it's party time in the video, bros. I'm Bobby Munson, and the man beside me, he's the man with the angelic voice. He's Papa Smokes. Papa Smokes, happy 2025, brother. How you doing?
Ooh, happy New Year to you, Munson, and happy New Year to all the wrestling people out there, the video bro people and the Ole people, everybody that I can think of. Happy New Year. Let's make 2025 a big one, everybody.
I believe we're going to Pop Smokes. In fact, we've got a lot of great stuff coming up on the channel. We got particularly something cool coming up right here on Ring Respect Radio in 1 week's time, because we are going to do another trip through the territories next Thursday night, Papa Smokes. We are going to take that trip across the pond to New Zealand. So we're going to be joined right here on the show by James Shaw, who you saw here from SPW before. He's bringing along his good buddy, David Dunn. It is going to be a fantastic show. I'm looking forward to it, Pop Smokes.
I'm so looking forward to this also, Munson. And through all the talking and discussing we did about the trip through the territories sequence or program, I never dreamt that this would be one of the territories, New Zealand, not only across the pond, across several ponds, probably the furthest place away that we could do. This is great. We've got the cooperation of our New Zealand friends and esteemed guests. I'm really, really looking forward to this.
You bet. And speaking of esteemed guests, how about that chat that's popping already? We got Basser saying Happy New Year, Bobby. Happy damn New Year, Pop Smokes.
Yes, you, brother.
New Year, Bass. How you doing, brother? And of course, STG's up in the building now. You doing, STG? With Bobby Buffer in the building. You bet. You bet. It's going to be a fun show here tonight. Looking forward to it, Papa Smokes. But how was your New Year? I got to ask that first and foremost. How was your New Year's?
It was good. It was good. I'm one of those guys that I ascribe to the sort of philosophy that New Year's Eve is the night for people that don't normally go out late, party, have too much to drink, all that kind of thing. So I leave that night to those people. I'm not waiting in line for drinks, not waiting in line to go to the bathroom in somewhere. I'm not waiting hours for a cab to get safely home or any of that kind of stuff. Those people can have that night. I can do that any night. I'm not doing it. So I make sure that night in is well taken care of. Lots of good snacks, some drinks, some kind of entertainment of some kind, and we're good. We're good. What about you?
You know, much the same, Papa Smokes. I had a night in with the wife. We watched some movies. We had some drinks, and we kind of flipped on the TV as they were getting towards midnight to check out the celebration that was being done through CBC on their YouTube channel, just for the sake of bringing in the new year that way. And shortly after that, we were off to bed. Again, much like yourself, if I'm going to go out for a night of drinks with the guys, I'm going to pick a night that isn't going to be quite as blistering with the, the casuals, we'll say, the casual partiers. As SDG saying, Happy New Year, Bobby. Happy New Year, Papa Smokes. I went to bed at 8 p.m. I'm too old for the, 8 p.m. That's still 10 p.m. my time, our time, if I'm not mistaken, SDG. So you hung in there pretty decently. We'll give you that credit. 11 Eastern, so decent credit for you on that one. You hung in there pretty good. So.
Well, and it's the changing of the calendar, but if you don't feel like celebrating it, or if you'd rather get a good sleep, just do it. Yeah, it's fine. You can do it again next year.
That's right. Exactly. You could just celebrate this weekend if you want to. I mean, there's a perfectly good Friday, Saturday coming up right around the corner. And also New Year's Eve restaurants, menus. Yeah.
That's a good reason to go out sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, it is for sure. But I mean, just as well as I do, you get some good snacks, you make some good cooking at home and stuff like that. It can be a decent night in for sure. So again, like I said, we watched a couple of movies, had a good night. It was overall an enjoyable time. I can't complain. Back to the grind though. We're in 2025, Pop Smokes, and it's all about coming out with some new material here on the program, coming out with new stuff on OLE. I will mention to anybody who is looking to tune into the Honor Ramble. You saw last week that we did a bid farewell to Kimmy Sokol, but the Honor Ramble's not done. It will not be appearing tonight, and they will be taking a break next week. They're coming back for the 100th episode of ROH since it was brought into the AEW world anyway, so they are going to be coming back. Kyle Sparks is going to be returning, and I do believe that Melball Collins is going to be joining the team as well too. So going to be freshening things up over there on the Honor Ramble. Looking forward to that. But one hell of a show we had there last week. I want to talk about this for a minute before we even get to tonight's topic, Papa Smokes. That show we did with Kimmy, we had a bunch of guests come on, and a big thank you to everybody who provided videos in the first place, kind of thing. And from Sean Ross Sapp to Weezy Blonde to Nyla Rose, who all willingly made videos for us to be able to play right here on that farewell to Kimmy. It was a great time and a great send-off.
Oh, very much so, and well-deserved from Kimmy, who wasn't on Ole for an extremely long time, but she made a big impact, and she's got a huge following, and she's got a great thing going, and I would like to also wish her luck in her future endeavors, including working all kinds of wrestling cons and stuff. You can see with that outgoing, bubbly personality that she has, she will do good at that. And the only person that, or only people that lose out a little bit is us wrestling journalists. But we learned from Kimmy, and we wish her all the best of luck going forward. Man, that was a pretty good honor ramble show. A little bit of roasting going on there too. Hey, Munson?
that roast was quite well done by Jose, I gotta say. I mean,
Yeah.
he knew his audience. He understood that Kimmy is that kind of person that can have a laugh there, and they made it for a fantastic time. I thought it was great. But always roast. Yeah, always roasted. It's fun to do some roasting sometimes. When you know people well enough and you can have that joke, it's fun to roast, amongst friends kind of thing. It's all in good fun, all in the name of love. So have fun with it. Something that we did lose big time as members of the IWC or the wrestling community in general, Papa Smokes, is a legend in the world of professional wrestling, and Sweet Daddy Siki. It's all the best to his family in this time. But what a legend that we lost here within Sweet Daddy Siki just I believe yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, or a couple days ago.
Yeah, a legend, definitely throughout the wrestling world. And for us Canadians, he was a standby of Toronto as well, a huge favorite there, and a guy well known around town for his outlandish look and his wild kind of demeanor and everything, but a baby face all the way through. The fans loved him, and a real big figure in the territory wrestling days, especially up in Toronto, and wrestling world just a little bit sadder without Sweet Daddy.
Sure is. But let's get on to positivity, Pop Smokes, in the form of talking about Riot City Wrestling, RCW, out of Australia. We've done a few reviews of them so far, and it's been building up to Battle for Supremacy 18 years that this particular card has been done by RCW. And I got to say kudos to the commentary throughout this entire program, giving a lot of that legendary knowledge and stuff like that, bringing us back to, who competed in certain Battle for Supremacy events of the past and stuff like that. Really doing a lot to kind of add to the knowledge and the story behind Riot City Wrestling. I thoroughly enjoyed commentary at the top of their game throughout this entire card.
Yeah, I always enjoy these guys. Angus, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but very enthusiastic, very good at what they do, and then filling in all the holes that the viewer needs to learn if they're going to watch a full show. And like you and I did some months back, jumping into this Fed's tapings, and just you can kind of get in the middle because they fill you in on what happened. We're also going to speak about this in a bit, but those video packages don't hurt either. Very professionally made. The backstage crew and the film editing crew and the video bros down there in Australia really doing a knockout job.
Oh, fantastic job. I know we praised it big time at the last card that we reviewed for them, but again, it was on great display throughout here tonight too. Let's get right down into it, Pop Smokes. We kick things off on this card with Dean Brady taking on #hard Banjo Powers. We didn't see Banjo at the last one. Happy to see him back. I don't know why this guy's so addictingly fun. Like, he's good inside the ring. I enjoy his ring work. The whole #hard, when I first heard it, I thought, is this going to be gimmicky, silly? It is, but yet for some reason it's addictingly silly in a sense kind of thing, because he backs it up with good in-ring performances on top of it. Then on the other side of the ring, you got Dean Brady. This is a big man. This guy he looks dangerous. That's the thing. Dean Brady looks like the guy that you accidentally nudged his motorcycle at the bar one night, and he comes walking out, and you're like, I got two options. I take the first punch and I see how long I could survive before this gets broken up, or I can run with my tail between my legs as fast as I damn well can, because he's ready for a fight.
Well, and lucky Banjo Powers didn't take that second option, because he was there for a fight too. And this is another thing I like about this company, is that they start out the card with the very first match is a good one, is a banger. This could have been third or second last on the show easily, but they subscribe to that booking strategy that you and I have come to enjoy from PPW and a few other companies of putting a good one on first. And this was definitely that. Didn't seem to be much of a huge angle or anything like that. Just two guys that can go out there, handle the job of warming up the crowd and having a nice, full, complete match. A nice, not overly long, an under 10-minute match to warm up the crowd, and they did exactly that. Both these guys, very, very good, and a solid match, especially first on the card.
Yeah, and the finish as well too, Pop Smokes, because when it came about, Banjo ends up getting his foot caught out by Ben R, the manager on the outside there, gets a hold of it. That creates the distraction long enough for Dean Brady to get that guillotine chokehold on Banjo. And not only did Banjo not tap out, but he just completely passes out because Dean Brady holds him in this thing. But the smart thing, and even commentary brings this up, the nice icing on the cake and the great ring awareness from Dean Brady was that he turned his body towards the ropes so that there was nowhere for Banjo Powers to go in this situation. He was nowhere near possibly reaching or grabbing a rope break, even with his foot. Great ring awareness, great finish, because again, Banjo doesn't look weak in this finish either. He's losing out to a bigger, stronger guy that's getting a good push right now, and a guy who has a mean streak about him, and it was on display here. And I'm telling you, that guillotine choke taking guys out, I can buy that all day long.
Absolutely. And you can kind of get a sense of what the bookers and the office are thinking with this match too, is that they're putting a banger on first. But when you look at this match, when you look at the ring with these two in it, you're thinking Brady's going to go over. He's big. He's powerful. He's a ruthless heel. He looks experienced. Banjo's got all the enthusiasm and the more aerial moves and stuff, but you're thinking Banjo's going to do the job here like a good guy that will do that for a talent that's going to go over him. But that's not what they're going to do. That's what they've got in their mind, is that there's something planned for Banjo Powers in the future. So not only does he takes the loss, but he doesn't tap out because they've got something in mind for him. He's going to have matches in the future much higher up the card. You got to think that they're probably thinking main event someday. They can't have Banjo Powers be tapping out to a guillotine chokehold. So hence he passes out. He still has his reputation intact and possibly even heightened by that as well, passing out instead of tapping out. And Dean Brady going over like the big tough heel that he is. This match is a win-win situation, both with a booking office and the crowd watching.
You bet. And this crowd, I got to say for a moment too, there was a couple of people in particular, this crowd, very, very vocal throughout this thing. And there is some very colorful stuff that got stuck in throughout this entire card. I was howling with laughter listening to the audience throughout this card.
Well, and you know this as a wrestling fan too. Part of the art of getting your heckling over is feeling the rhythms of the audience and finding those quiet spots right after someone else has said something where you could get yours said and fit it in there perfectly too. And there was a lady in that crowd that was a master of that, because in between matches and any little quiet moment, she would get hers in there. And so there were some scathing ones. She had the rest of the crowd laughing. Love to see that in her live wrestling show.
You bet. We got Kenji joining the chat asking if we're talking about wrestling. We certainly are. We are talking about our good friends, Riot City Wrestling out of Australia. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you coming in here tonight on Ring Respect Radio. But yeah, it was a good way to kick off the card. Papa Smokes very happy with the way they did that first matchup. Moving on from there, I groaned slightly at when this match popped up on my screen because again, like you and I have said before, triple threats, four-way dances, whatever they are. It's just not really our cup of tea necessarily. So when I saw it come up on my screen, especially with this name, the Kings of Ruin Christmas Chaos four-way battle tag team match for the RCW Tag Team Championships. Oh man, what were we getting ourselves into? And before we even go any further, I didn't dislike this as much as I was expecting. Maybe my expectations were lowered because of this type of match, but I think I enjoyed all the little intricacies between the teams that were involved in this particular matchup enough. I'm invested enough into a lot of these teams in this matchup that I was glad to see them on the card. So I think with my expectations lowered, I ended up more enthralled with this in the long run than what I was expecting to be. Not saying I loved it, but just saying better than anticipated for a four-way dance.
Yeah, okay, I can see where you're coming from there for sure, because the same thing as you when I saw the title of this match, including chaos being in it, and I just thought, oh God, this is going to be pretty chaotic to watch. And it was. And while I don't love the booking plan of a match like this, I can also understand it. Apparently, RCW has a number of tag teams that they want to involve in the title scene, in the top of their tag team division. So wanting to feature all of them isn't a bad thing. Get the guys in there, get them working together, and the fans will probably like this match. But in fact, what happened was the talent kind of rose above the situation of this match, I would say, really putting on a good show. And yeah, I'm like you. I had little expectations for this match, so it rose above those.
Yeah, and I got to say, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to slowly become a big supporter of Mr. Cliff very quickly. I find that I'm enjoying him on the same level that you and I were enjoying people such as our good friend Bud Heavy over in MLW, where it's you don't even need them to win. They're the boy, you know, they're your guy kind of thing. And I know he's supposed to be the dirty heel, giving out detention slips and all this kind of shit. But throughout this entire matchup, every time that they came close, and they came very damn close to having Mr. Cliff, or sorry, aka Mr. Cliffmas in this matchup, get the victory for his team, him and Red Smash 2, the most mismatched team you could imagine. And I'm watching this thing, finding myself a little bit excited to think, Jesus Christ, would they pull the trigger on Mr. Cliffmas's one and only win out of 40 matches with the company right here and make him a tag champion? I think that was another reason I started to become invested in this thing.
No, for sure. It struck me also after the last couple RCW shows we watched that this is going to be one of the big stories in this match is Mr. Cliff completely useless, or is he going to get a win at some point? And the guy's an okay worker and all that stuff. I'm not saying anything about that, but they've got his angle is the losing streak. So naturally, a lot of fans, despite the fact that he's a heel, kind of want to see him get that win. They kind of want to see what's going to happen. Don't think it's going to happen with the belts on the line, but you never know. You never know. That's the thing. So I was also interested in watching Mr. Cliff. Hey, with the whole school teacher gimmick, does he ever remind you of our area's Principal Pound at all?
Yeah, he sure does. And actually, you missed out on the time in SPW out in New Zealand there, where they had a faction named Detention at the time, and it was actually the Golden Boy Rider and Cool Guy Sky were the tag team within Detention at the time, and Professor Palmer was the supposed principal or whatever of this particular faction back then. So there's been multiple companies, but like you said, with us here in Canada, definitely with Richard Pound and the School of Hard Knocks that he used to run around with it.
Yep,
Rob Roy Scott and a couple of those guys back in the day.
For sure. And I mean, what better kind of story to go with as a heel, but a teacher or a principal, right? We all have at least one in our memory that will not leave because the hatred still burns for the injustices that those teachers or principals put on you when you were a child. And back in the days when you couldn't fight back against that kind of thing. It remains with people, so sometimes these characters are good.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Yeah, again, enjoyed it better than I expected. So good job. Moving on from there, we had Redshaw come out, and I was like, all right, Redshaw. But then he's not dressed to wrestle at this point in time, Papa Smokes. He comes down, gets on the mic, and says that the audience, plain and simple, doesn't deserve to see Redshaw wrestle. So he's going to be going to the back. He's going to be sitting at his merch table selling 8x10 pictures and a bunch of air fresheners because the people here in this audience stink and could really use them. I got a good audible pop at that comment. I know it's a classic. I know it's old-fashioned, but it's effective. Right then and there, when music hits, Nick Armstrong comes out. He's irate at Redshaw, of course, grabs the mic to cut him down, challenges him to a fight. Redshaw turns it down, goes to leave, but Nick Armstrong turns around, calls Redshaw chicken shit. Then the fight begins. Bell rings, and we have a match on our hands, Papa Smokes, after all that.
Redshaw in his jeans and t-shirt kind of just, stepping up. I don't need my trunks or anything to deal with this jabroni, so they have a full-on match, and I like Redshaw. I think he's one of the better talents in RCW. He's just kind of got that intense fighter kind of vibe going. He's got the cool look. He's big and strong, and then he has that massive running power slam that I like a whole bunch. That's just absolutely devastating. And then Nick Armstrong comes out with the challenge. Nick Armstrong's still looking like the son of Jeff Jarrett and Billy Idol, in my opinion. But makes a pretty impressive wrestler. And so these guys had a match with Renshaw in his jeans and everything. And yeah, he almost hit that power slam too, but couldn't quite get the victory out of it.
No, in fact, there was the distraction from Einar the Strange, who apparently wasn't going to be there that night because you'd been taken out by Redshaw. They wasn't going to be able to make it, but that was not the case. The lights went out. Einar the Strange appears at the top of the ropes, causing a distraction. Nick Armstrong takes advantage, gets that pinfall victory, and without having to lay a hand on him, Einar the Strange is living rent-free in the head of Redshaw right now, leading up to something big between these two boys. We haven't even seen, you and I personally haven't seen Einar the Strange, and I can't wait for this matchup. They've done a good enough job investing me into this feud between these two gentlemen.
I think so too, and somebody whose nickname is the Strange is going to do some stuff like that. I don't know the whole story of what's behind his character and everything, but he looks like one of these almost a supernatural kind of Viking type presence that comes out, and he's got the smeared face paint and everything. He looks quite intimidating, so they've been kind of teasing his return for at least the past two shows now. Possibly he's not ready to go in the ring yet at this time, but they're laying the foundations for his comeback, and it's looking like it could be good, and it's looking like he's got his sights set on Renshaw.
Yeah, you bet. So we'll see what they got coming up there. The next match on this card, Papa Smokes, I would say you could almost have counted this as being one of the main events on the card. This was a top booked matchup. It is the finals of the recent tournament that's going on. This is for the RCW Emerald Crown. And of course, this is a undefeated streak versus a career. We got Super Sigma, who has yet to be defeated by pinfall or submission in Riot City Wrestling, versus Zach Sabbath, putting his career on the line, which we could take one of two ways going into this, Papa Smokes. We talked about it before. It could either mean Zach Sabbath was going to take the fall here tonight and he'd be moving on to bigger, better things, or he was going to come up the victor and he's going to end up being absolutely smashed over with being the guy to finally put an end to Super Sigma. That's the path they ended up choosing. This was beautifully done too with the, I liked that they went to the backstage area after Super Sigma comes out. They go to the backstage area and they do one of those. We've seen them before in the big companies. The big match is coming up. The baby face that needs to overcome the odds to beat the big bad kind of thing is coming down to the ring, and he stops by and he sees his buddies along the way and they're wishing him well. And then we get the scene here too. And I didn't realize this before that we got backstage with, Zach Sabbath's daughter being back there and his wife being back there and everything to wish him well. And again, his wife, I did not realize as well too that was Mickey Fortune, if I wasn't mistaken, back there.
Yeah, I believe so. The wrestlers make the great pairs together, but they also kind of had me a little bit on this too, because they were really making it look like this was going to be Zach Sabbath's last match. Like you said, bringing the camera into the dressing room, back where you normally don't get to see, making it a little bit of a moment. And his buddies, fellow babyface of the wrestlers, they're giving him the fist bumps and giving him the slaps on the back, because the whole mood is kind of one of somberness, and this is probably his last match, and there's every chance going up against Sigma, the big giant. This could be Sabbath's last match. So showing the family, showing his buddies, the wrestlers, showing his buddies, the fans, it really lulled us into a sense of what we thought was going to happen. Well, what that was not what we expected to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So the match starts, and again, this is, for all the marbles, that Emerald Crown championship that they've got there. I believe that in winning this, that would make Sabbath the first ever Grand Slam winner of Riot City Wrestling as well, too. They really sold that home. We go out there, and we have some really good back and forth between these two guys. Sabbath sold so well for Sigma. When Sigma was in control and he was hitting his stuff, Sabbath sold like an absolute dynamite performer on this night. You believed that he was hurt. You saw the fear and the pain in his eyes, and that career in Riot City Wrestling slipping from underneath him. And when he would fight back, the fight back from underneath like a good babyface would, getting at the big bad, being able to do what he can, because again, he's giving up the size factor to Sigma, but he sold it in his movement, his speed, his agility, and things like that. And inevitably, 2 missed spots that he hit on Super Sigma, of course, bending the rules just a slight little bit, but even a baby face in good spirit, when something big is on the line like that, by hook or by crook, sometimes even the baby face has to go somewhere deep in order to keep what they hold most dear. And that's what Sabbath did. He dug down deep. He hit those missed spots. He then hits that pile driver to finish Sigma off and win the Emerald Crown and become the first ever Grand Slam winner in Riot City Wrestling. This was a hell of a match. I like this one a lot. The contrast of big man versus little man worked on so many levels here, because you had 2 great professionals putting on what was a well-built storyline.
Yeah, that's just it. There wasn't anything fancy about this match per se. It was a classic match strategy in the laying out of this whole match. The big guy versus the little guy. Sigma, 6'9", 260 pounds. He's really, really big.
He is
Plus,
a big boy.
He's a heel, but he kind of has that superhero thing going on. So sometimes he won't even sell when he takes offense, because he's kind of like pumped up, kind of like a Superman type thing. He's more like Homelander than Superman, I suppose. But that's another story altogether. But again, nothing fancy. This was smaller babyface against big giant heel, and it absolutely worked, because these guys are veterans and they can pull it off. And again, at many times through this match, it looked like Sigma was just going to polish him off. There was going to be a finish, and that's the emotion for the night. The sadness, the crying, the sorrow that one of the big favorites, Zach Sabbath, will be gone. They sold it. Nobody was sure for quite a while there. Even the seasoned wrestling fans were wondering what the heck was going to happen with this. How was the little guy going to even it up and put the big guy down? Like you mentioned, with a couple of well-timed missed spots, even the first one didn't get him. The second one, though, got him into position for that pile driver. And then Sigma, the big guy, goes down. So 2 stories at the end of this match. The big guy finally gets defeated for what sounds like maybe the first time ever, the first time in a long time in Riot City Wrestling. Plus, the babyface, the veteran that was in danger of losing his career, does not lose his career. Reborn again. So everybody thinking, what's next for Zach Sabbath? Now he's got the Emerald Crown. So my word, where is this going to go? Perfect. That's what you want your booking to do. Is keep your audience thinking and keep your audience guessing as to what comes next.
Exactly. And only going to go up there for Zach Sabbath. And I'm sure the same thing for Super Sigma, even in defeat. He does not look weak here. It was well booked, well placed. The big man will bounce back. I am sure of that. Next matchup, speaking of people we were wondering about bouncing back, Papa Smokes, we had a tag matchup. It was the Perea taking on Di Maria, Vincent Di Maria, or a.k.a. Vinny, and Snacks. Two other guys that were involved in that same tournament with Super Sigma and Zach Sabbath. And we said after Vinny ended up losing, he was the former Emerald Crown winner. He did not come out on top of this one, had to give up his Emerald Crown title. What was going to be next for him? Well, hello, I think we found it here because this tag team matchup, the Perea, an established decent team in the Australia area, going up against Di Maria and Snacks, who looked sharp as a team together, dressed as a team together, came out looking like this might be the plan moving forward, and even picked up a big victory here, and having the Perea put them over afterwards. I'm starting to believe that that might be the direction, and if it is, I'm okay with that because this looked like a great debut for a brand new tag team that they've done wonders establishing as singles wrestlers.
Very much so. In a debut of two guys who have never teamed before, getting smashed over big time, because this was another match with a little bit of an emotional story involved. La Perea, a famous tag team in Australia, very decorated and known for traveling all around the country and having great matches. The commentators let us know these guys are now leaving the nest. They're going to go over to America, try their trade there, see if they can get over in one of the big companies, see if they can achieve some of their dreams. So the fans also knowing that this is one of their old favorite teams on the way out. So probably the last appearance of the Perea for Riot City Wrestling. A little bit of an emotional moment there, but for me, this was easily one of the better matches on this card, and it was not only due to Snacks and Vinny, but the Perea. Wow, what a team. I haven't seen these guys before. Did they look good? These guys really caught my eye on this card for not only being good in their presentation, excellent built bodies, looking like tough wrestlers, looking like physically strong wrestlers, having the entire nice look and everything. But wow, the tag team work they did together, these guys are well oiled. You can see that they've been there many times in tag team matches. They've got their shit tight. So this was a great match. Snacks and Vinny able to keep up with the Perea. But wow, what a match. Those guys really caught my eye. I'm going to remember that name because I think we might hear it coming up in the future, possibly over in our neck of the woods in North America.
I wouldn't doubt it too, because again, I believe they were getting their start more so when I was doing the writing about the company quite a few years ago. So they were establishing themselves as a solid, big name team in the tag title picture at that time. So that skill and everything has just grown over time. That much more experience has happened. They're ready for that market. They are ready to come over and swoop through North America and start making a big splash. Speaking of big splashes, it's our boy Andre C joining us. Thank you, Andre. Check out Andre and Melball's Wrestling Talk there. Go subscribe to them on YouTube. Check them out every Friday right here on the channel tomorrow night with the Japanese wrestling update. But yeah, what a great tag team matchup. STG boo Andre. Oh, now they're gonna start name calling just because they had to team up on the NFL predictions and they lost Ed and I. But that's for a different story.
I thought it might still be trivia fallout.
Oh, there's also that. I mean, definitely trivia fallout. I mean, Andre's been killing it on trivia nights. I mean, over on Mark's channel, Andre beat all of us by a landslide there on that trivia night. He did really well on our show. So look at this. Oh, I mean, he's even being nice to SDG. Look at that. Come on, SDG. Even you can't deny. You got to be kind back. I mean, Andre's showing you the love, brother.
We'll see.
We'll see if we can show the love to this next matchup on the card, Papa Smokes. What I would say was the more goofball matchup than what the four-way dance ended up being. The four-way dance was the one I expected to be a little bit more goofy and not to my liking. This one, definitely a little bit more messy, not to my liking sort of situation. I understand the meaning of it. I understand why they did it. This is the match. It's down under. Big Brody Marshall taking on the team of Richard Gouda, Jed Armstrong for the decision on how they're going to be GMs. So who's going to be? Is it Richard Gouda as the GM? Is it Big Brody Marshall? I think the biggest downside to this is obviously Big Brody Marshall. He's an experienced guy, done his time in the ring, big boy. This is a man coming back into the fold. Down under is, I think, someone who definitely could use a little bit more focus. Yeah, he was higher up the card, but I think more of a one-on-one situation for him would be fantastic. You know, at the same time, you throw into the mix somebody like Jet Armstrong, who I think is great. Him and his brother Nick do great stuff here. Also, we're a great tag team together. This match was just, it was messy for me. Martial law is in effect because Big Brody Marshall picking up the victory, but it was a very overbooked kind of situation. Not really my cup of tea on this one.
Yeah, I feel that also, but this match also was involved with angles going on in RCW right now, with the winner being determined as the new general manager of the show. This is what led me to believe that maybe Dr. Richard Gouda's team was going to win and Gouda was going to be the GM, because you could totally see a kind of mostly non-working, non-bumping character in the federation could be the GM. So this is what I was thinking right off the bat. Jed Armstrong doing most of the work in this match, most of the physical work, and Gouda doing the comedy spots. But in this match, yeah, it wasn't completely for me, but Big Brody and Down Under really are both big favorites of mine in Riot City Wrestling. The bloody Aussies have some big dudes down there, don't they? Holy cow. And Brody is just, without ever working out or lifting weights, that is a big dude. Plus, he does work out and lift weights, so he's even bigger.
Yeah.
And Down Under, what a beauty, man. Like, can you believe the luxuriousness of that mullet? Like, my God, it's so short on the top and sides, and then it's down to the middle of his back. Like,
It's pristine.
That's like the silverback of mullets right there. That guy leads the pack amongst mullet guys. But also a good worker and a good bumper as well. And the fans like him, right? Like, what a great character he is. Down Under, the most Australianist guy of all the Australians. I like it a lot. And yeah, bit of a silly match. We got some comedy spots in with Gouda. We got some big spots in with the big boys, and what should have happened in this. And yeah, it was a match, and it happened, and we got to see the return of Big Brody. I think the fans were probably satisfied with that.
Well, and here's the great part about this whole situation. Down Under helped Big Brody Marshall in this matchup. Therefore, he's in good with the GM. Maybe this puts Down Under in line for some championship conversation as we lose Papa Smokes dropping out of the fold here. He must have dropped water on his equipment or something like that. But I will just fill the void for a couple of minutes until he joins back here with us. I'm sure he'll be back in no time at all. But yeah, mishaps happen. Just like, again, we're going to find out. Oh, there he is. He's joining. There he is. Papa Smokes is back.
Wow. Sometimes it just drops me right out. I have to go back and log into the whole room again.
Yeah. SDG suggesting to tell Sastel to level up their internet game.
So accurate. So accurate.
we don't have a lot of options out here in SK at all, to be honest, STG. In fact, in my particular neighborhood, we have SaskTel, or we can do Access Communications. We can't even get, so I know a lot of people get Rogers or Shaw as an option out here now. But yeah, we can't even get that in my particular area of Saskatchewan. So yeah.
Well, and
Yeah, no,
and mine is the expensive high speed internet. I actually pay extra for this, and this still happens.
yeah. No, that's the thing. I've got top tier fiber internet from SaskTel coming in for my line as well too. So whenever it starts to slow down or have problems, I get a little ticked off because we do pay top dollar for it. So it should run
Same.
flawlessly. But hey, it is what it is. You can't control the world, unfortunately. But we will control talking about the main event of the evening. This match is scheduled for one fall,
One fall.
and it is for the RCW Championship. It is the challenger, Mickey Fortune, the winner of the Riot City Rumble, taking on champion Chris Basso. And I was wondering where this was going to go, Papa Smokes, because again, we saw last time out, Mickey Fortune got the pinfall in that tag team match over the champion. Could that mean the champion's going to overcome her and retain? Or does it mean that Mickey Fortune has got some momentum in her way? On top of it, the entire night, the baby faces have really been one up in the heels all night long. They've really been selling this as a very baby face centric show where all the good things, all the good feelings are happening right before we go into a brand new year, because this was all taking place right here, right in December of 2024. So they wanted to leave people on that good feeling is the thought I started to get going into this match. I thought they could pull the trigger here. They kept selling the fact that Mickey Fortune 1 year ago was against Delta, who, again, I can't remember what Delta goes by now in NXT, but 1 year ago, barely coming up short to Delta in a matchup previously. So really trying to sell how good Mickey Fortune was and has become in that year's time. Now going in there toe-to-toe with a mean, badass man, representing the old guard, a lot of experience behind him, that champion, Chris Basso. This was a fight. This was a match, Papa Smokes. Again, the booking of it, the finish of it tends to be, I want to say, Indie Championship booking 101, where the best way out is by hook or by crook. And that's exactly how this one went, with Dean Basso by hook or by crook, managing to sneak his way out of losing the title to Mickey Fortune. Distractions happen. He ends up getting the victory, but not without Mickey looking absolutely A+ in this matchup. She brought that fight to Basso, and on more than one occasion, it felt like they were going to pull that trigger. It felt like that place was going to erupt with excitement because, damn it, the Riot City fans are behind Mickey Fortune 100%.
Very much so. And since we've been watching and covering RCW over the last year or so, this has been like their longest running angle that they've had going, was the rise of Mickey Fortune winning the ladies title in RCW, then having to relinquish it due to injury. There's some heartbreak for you. But coming back stronger than ever. Oh, she wants to be in the men's division now. She doesn't care. She wants to get in there with the men. All right. All power to you, sister. And she comes in strong. Then we watched the Riot City Rumble, which would determine the number one contender for the championship. And by God, Mickey went through everybody in their entire federation and won the Riot City Rumble. So now, not only is she in the men's division, she's the number one contender. This is building up very, very nicely. And Mickey is not just getting a massive push because they want a lady in the title picture. She's a good wrestler. She's actually a really good wrestler. She reminds me of Lyra Valkyria a little bit, except she's even bigger and more athletic than her. Maybe not quite as smooth on some of the moves, but Mickey Fortune looks really at the top of her game right now. She came out, she's the Huntress. She's got cool gear. She has the kind of black makeup around the eyes. Her presentation is excellent. She looks really cool. Now she's coming out in an intergender match against Chris Bass. Pardon me, Chris Basso, who's another one of these big, solid Aussie dudes as well. Not just a man, but a big man as well. The size comparison didn't look totally ridiculous in this match. It looked like there was still some competitiveness to be had size-wise in this match. But as we know, Mickey Fortune, a very wily wrestler, so she doesn't need the massive strength and all that. She's got the moves, she's got aerial maneuvers and all that stuff to combat the strength of Basso. And they went for over 20 minutes. A really good match. Lots of false finishes and stuff, but a finish that made sense at the end. And yeah, the baby faces weren't going to go over in this one. Some heartbreak for the crowd who have watched the rise of Mickey Fortune over the past year. This is months and months and months of thinking about it. Could she win the main prize in Riot City Wrestling? Could she, if she just had a shot? And it doesn't always work out like that.
You bet. It's a good question coming in from STGs for the two of us. Do you pay attention to only certain indie brands, or do you try to cover them all? Easiest way to explain is we try to cover what we feel we know we'll be able to give a good review to, at least a respectable review, because there's certain types of indie stuff. Like if we get into death matches or things like that, if it leans too heavily into that kind of side of it, it's really not our cup of tea, and we're not the right guys to be reviewing it. So we try to filter through to certain ones. Obviously, Australia's got some great stuff going on. New Zealand's got some great stuff going on. If there was more availability to it without subscriptions, I would look at doing WXW out of Germany. I know we've watched a few matches of theirs as well, too. Same with like things like in the US with PCW Ultra, Defy. There's a few of those ones that we've covered as well, too. And then here in Canada, of course, we cover Prairie Pro Wrestling. But we know that Andre and Melball do such a wonderful job covering the stuff in Alberta that we, step aside when it comes to that side of it. We allow them to take care of all that wonderful talk of the Alberta scene. But we're always open to more. So STG, again, now I'll throw this back at you. Do you know any indie promotions that we should look into that might be something we could cover here on the show? Because we're always looking for more. That's how I see it anyway.
Yeah, and another one I'll throw into the mix is Ed Fries' home promotion, that Chaotic, also very quality indie wrestling. I watched a show or two to review with Ed a couple times, and just really quite good. It takes you in on the very first card that you watch and leaves you wondering, well, shit, I want to watch the next one because I need to see what happens.
You bet. Yeah, they got their own brand out in Victoria there, and there's something that we can check out for sure, STG. Sure. We'd be happy to. Yeah, and you know what? Again, that's what we try. Again, especially at our age and the longevity we've had doing this kind of stuff, we're never looking to bash on wrestling. Again, there's certain things we don't like, and as you said, we tippy-toed around a four-way dance not being our cup of tea, but gave it some props for the right reasons here tonight. Some of the comedy stuff really just isn't for us, and the deathmatch stuff. But again, if you have one on the card, it doesn't kill the entire card for us at the same time. We understand that you're going to have these things. Again, we just got done calling the first ever TLC match over in Prairie Pro Wrestling. We don't always love a gimmick match, but we had a reason for it. When we built up to having El Assassino versus Michael Allen, Richard Clark in a gimmick match at our big show of the year, it made sense. And of course, it was batshit crazy. We had a hell of a time doing it. It was so much fun calling it here tonight, too. Six locked in as an OLE guy now. I just want to understand all the shows. Hey, no, appreciated STG. And that's, again, we did. So it's a bit of a variety here on Ring Respect. We had to find our calling over the years of what we do best. And because Papa Smokes and I are so heavily involved with independent wrestling ourselves, we originally were covering MLW at one point in time, and we stepped a little bit back from the MLW side, but we've now been filtering in even more of the independent scene into our reviews. Of course, we cover the PPW stuff. We do the trip through the territories, doing the classic wrestling. And then every once in a while, we throw in the trivia nights, as you've seen. And we also have one more thing we haven't done for a while that I think we could bring back sometime soon. Papa Smokes, I think it, now better than ever, is our Viewers' Choice Championship tournament that we've done in the past. I think we got to cook one of those up coming up here, maybe in January or February.
Sure, that sounds good. That's always a good time, and I like the shows where it encourages the chatters to contribute as well.
Oh, you bet. Yeah. And again, we're going to have another trivia night coming up. I think I'm going to slot myself back into the hosting duties on the next trivia night, Papa Smokes, but we'll make sure that we have a good guest lineup of guests here on the show. Who knows? I'll maybe ask around. Let's see who we can get this time around. Who knows? Maybe our friends from SPW who are joining us next week might even be interested in playing some trivia one of these times too. So I'll ask about and see what happens. Bobby running away from Papa Smokes' his heel turn. You got to watch out. Papa Smokes is a sneaky one. He's been, here's the thing, STG. He's been trying to say that I'm the one that's going to turn heel all these years. He's been putting the blame squarely on me, claiming I've got a dark side, and I just don't see it. I mean, I'm always smiling. There's no way the happiest guy in the room could ever harbor darkness.
Oh, man, you're laying it on thick this time, Munson. It wasn't me that came up with Bad Bobby. That's bad with 2 D's, by the way. That's a long story. Maybe Bobby will have to tell you STG at some point, but he's got a dark side, all right.
Bad Bobby, the double D man himself. Yeah, that was a dark place we never want to go back to. Bad Bobby's been put to rest. We never need to talk to him again. We could just have fun between Bobby, the Ogre Lord, and there's always the Mr. Greenface Killer there that hasn't made an appearance for a while too. Papa.
That's you. That's you.
I didn't say it was me. I just know the guy. I mean, just come on here, like.
Wow. Holy.
I would never be caught dead wearing costumes. It doesn't happen.
I'm just not sure if I can trust you, Munson. I like you. I'm just not sure I can trust you.
Fair enough. Well, Papa Smokes, you know what we can trust? We can trust that it's coming up to the top of the hour. We hope that everyone's going to join in next week as we welcome James Shaw, the Divine Light, and David Dunn to the program for a trip through the territories, New Zealand style. It's going to be a great time with the boys from New Zealand joining us. But Papa Smokes, in the meantime and in between time, why don't you hit them up, tell them where they can find you and what you got coming up.
All right, I can be found on Elon Musk's Free Speech Wonderland, also known as X, at smokes_Papa. I can also be found on Twitch at Papa_Smokes_. Only projects coming up. Everything I'm concentrating on is New Zealand, trip through the territories next week. I'm pumped, and I've already been working on it, but I'm going to dive in even further. Have you been watching On the Mat episodes, Munson? That's their old show. I've been watching a whole bunch of episodes of it. It's not the most engaging wrestling show I've ever watched, but that's the one that ruled their airwaves for a long time. So you can bet we'll be talking about that too.
Guaranteed. It's going to be brought up for sure. As for myself, I'm Bobby Munson. Down below, that is where my credentials are. You can find me on all social media as well as Twitch, _Bobby Munson. And of course, now on the Blue Sky as well, too. What do I got coming up? You can find me this Sunday. It's Point of View, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. STG knows where to find us. He's always there joining in on our NFL predictions. I think we got one more little tiny week of games left, but Mark has taken it by a landslide. So unfortunately, the ice bucket in the middle of winter is coming my way. So that coming very soon to Point of View as well. Stay tuned for that. Of course, STG, thank you, my friend. I know you didn't, the viewers didn't quite win as well either, but STG did donate 10 subscriptions here on Twitch to us, which is a very, very gracious donation. And thank you very much. Really do appreciate everything that you do to support us, STG, here on the channel. You're a very, very good viewer. Appreciate it, man. Cheers. But yes, that's as Papa Smokes leaves us once again. That is where you can find me, of course, myself and Papa Smokes every Saturday afternoon. Prairie Pro Wrestling's YouTube channel. That's where we are calling all the shots of every Prairie Pro Wrestling matchup. Yes, and Sastel dropping again. There you go. STG said it best. Sastel dropping. But yes, you can find us every Saturday afternoon, Prairie Pro Wrestling's YouTube channel, calling all the shots on a brand new matchup. We are now back to more matchups, and we're going to have more coming at you this Saturday afternoon. So stay tuned for that. But that's going to be it for myself and Pop Smokes. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next Thursday night right here on Ring Respect Radio. Take care, everybody.